Hello, guys. Um, Good evening again. Good morning. Good afternoon from wherever you're joining us from. We're happy to have you here. Just hope you've had a very fruitful day and a productive one. We we will be starting the conversation now. We just want to first. We're very sorry we couldn't make it up last week. There's a lot of pressing issues, and we also had a bit of technical hitches as well. So we just didn't want to proceed with it so that we do not, you know, give you a quality job and a quality presentation as well. But today we're here, and we will be having one of our guests today. His name is Coach Jonathan. Um, we'll see. Let's just wait for him to join us soon. And then we'll be having this. Today, our topic today, we're going to discuss the implication of gender inequality and the effect of gender imbalance in Africa. We have, over time, been able to see from statistics how much is lost through and in the economy as a result of either negligence or some sort of imbalance. Now, how much could we in Africa or anywhere in the world could have made more if we had this inclusiveness in the economy, we had this inclusiveness among our people, how much could we have made, and how much have we lost so far? And these are the conversations we'll be having today with Coach Jonathan. He just joined on the conversation now. I will be adding him on just so we can proceed. Okay, let's do this with. So I'll be adding Coach Jonathan on right now. Here we go. Uh, okay, so we're good.
Hey, what's up?
Can
How's it going?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you. How are
Oh,
you?
I'm good. How are you? Interesting.
Good, I'm
Uh,
good. Thank you very much. Can you hear me clearly?
yeah, I can hear you clearly. It's good to have you here. Eh? How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. I was looking forward to this.
Yeah, thank you. And we also were looking forward to that. Man, thank you for your time. I don't know what time is it now by
It's
your
11 a.m. here. Probably you've had a
11,
long hour.
11 a.m. Oh, I can
Yeah.
imagine. Okay, that's good. So thank you. You're welcome to the conversation, the other gender conversation. We hold this every Monday, 8 p.m. And I really want to thank you for, just jumping on board. I know we had very brief conversation before we even decided to go for this. I mean, thank you for, for being warm and welcoming to One African Forum and so on and opening your arms to us. There's a lot we got going on, and yeah, we actually appreciate everyone who has come on board, to show some support, love, at one point or the other. So I want to say thank you. Um, I am trying to get on my co-host. I don't know what's up with her right now. Okay, I'm just going to do that again when she comes on. Can you hear me? You see, your network seems to be breaking now. I think we're losing him. I think we're losing him. All right, we have lost Coach Jonathan. And let me see. I think he's requesting to come on again. All right, that's it. Let's see how that goes. All
There
right.
you, there you go. Sorry, I lost you for a few seconds
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's all right. Thank you. I was just saying thank you very much, for your time and for showing us this so much love and support and coming through. It's been, back and forth. I think we did fix this about a month ago. So that's so interesting. Thank you for keeping it up with us. And also, we've gone through your bio and done a lot of background work in you, and you're doing so uh, uh, much an amazing job you're doing out there around the world. We say thank you for representing us. Thank you for being an African pride wherever you are, wherever you find yourself, wherever your feet, has stepped on. You have been such an amazing person. We really appreciate you. You've been an inspiration. Thank you for
I'm
choosing to join us.
Thank you very much. I'm humbled. My only regret really is actually that I only have one life to give my continent, to give my people. And then it is a pleasure to be where we are, where you are. You guys are also doing an amazing work. I had an opportunity to go through your stuffs as well. It is well, mind blowing. I think the conversation like gender inequality and gender-based violence is far overdue. And then I think this is the right time actually to start having that right now, and not just have the conversation and literally all together to be part of the solution, all of us, individually, on a smaller scale, on a micro scale, on a macro scale as well. And thanks for having me here. Although I I'm also coaching and I'm into entrepreneurship, but one thing that I get to realize is actually entrepreneurs, the life they bring at work, the life they bring to their company is far dependent to far too many factors. And then their relationship with their friends, with their families, with the people near them, around them as well, is far more influenced by all these stuffs. And when you bring all that at work, when you bring that on the business, if your mental health is not quite there yet and you don't have a right relationship at home, when you go back home from work, your company might suffer. But as well, when your company suffers, it's the economy that gets to suffer. And on some level, when you combine all those things together, you get to realize literally that it's the whole continent, the whole global economy that gets to suffer whenever something is not getting worse. So I'm very happy and pleased to be part of this talk here.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that. And we're happy to have you. I was just gonna, dive in and ask, tell us who is Coach Jonathan. But at the point I'm thinking, we've done so much about your bio. And I mean, is there anything more we'd want to know? But yeah, just for the sake of those who are joining us right now, and those who maybe just want to hear from the horse's mouth who Coach Jonathan is, would you just give us a brief, maybe 30 seconds? Who is Coach Jonathan?
30 seconds. I'm a bridge builder. My name is Jonathan, and I'm a family man, soon to get married, and I'm excited about that. And beyond that, my work, literally, I do work. I'm a coach and a consultant. I work literally. I find gaps in organizations, gaps in companies, and gaps in individual lives, and help them build bridges across. I've worked with a number of organizations. I cannot fit them in 30 seconds, but right now based in Vancouver, Western Canada. And I'm very blessed to be here and then to live in this time, in this generation right now. Beyond that, I guess, as we get to converse on this relevant topic here, we'll get to know each other more. But why did I say yes to this specific invite, talking about gender inequality and gender-based violence when it comes to economics? Although I do coaching with entrepreneurs and businesses, and also consult with major organizations, is because now more than ever in North America, the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs are female. And that is not something that we can ignore. We cannot ignore this. Oh yeah, the co-host has joined. Amazing to have you here. So this is not something that we can ignore, Father. This is one. Number two is I read a meme the other day that said, let me just bring a quote. Kofi Annan said one time that there is no development strategy more efficient than the one that's placed the woman at the heart of decision making. And I'll be going as well through all the stuffs that we'll be talking about here, the questions, the definition, and all of that. And it is a topic that I'm very passionate about. And I want to bring a different perspective, gender-based violence, gender inequality. I want to start with a disclaimer. I am a man. And most of the time when we're talking about gender inequality, women have been, or females have been disproportionately impacted by gender inequality. And most of the time, I'm sitting in the seat of a perceived abuser, a perceived, because my gender, people of my gender have, they have used up and they have taken advantage of any structure, whether it's political, whether it's religion, which I'll be touching also a little bit about that. They have used that to take that power relations as if they were superior just because they're male. And I want to stand here and not as someone who knows all about the struggle, because this is not a lived experience for me, but females have been affected by what people of my gender have been doing. And then, so now more than ever, it is time that we wake up to that question, and there's a lot of work that are being done already on that, and I'm very proud to bring that on board here.
All right, thank you so much. That's amazing. Well, you said something at the beginning of the conversation that your only regret is that you have one life to live. You really wanted to give so much to your continent, and that's true. I mean, someone said something similar some time ago, and I think there's a reason why we all have one life to live, and more importantly, there's also a reason why we all have each other. Because the truth is, the fact that I have one life to live, my life plus your life plus her life plus those lives of those who are watching us, actually amounts to so many lives that can impact so much more lives than the lives that are actually making this impact. You understand? And so that's actually the essence for this conversation. The fact that my life can, the role I play in my life can actually can factor into the role that you play in your life, factor into the role that she plays in her life, and all together bring about this change that we really want to see in our society. These, bring an end to these anomalies that we see in our society. You just talked about gender-based violence and how, you want to just discuss these things. And a lot of people are out there. And guys, if you have any question, please drop it off. But quickly, how would you define gender-based violence? I mean, in your own definition, briefly, how would you define gender-based violence?
Gender-based violence is any form of abuse or assault or harassment that can be drawn back to dominant societal norms surrounding gender, or put it in a simpler way, it's harmful acts directed at an individual based on their gender. I will not bring my own definition. This is UN HCR definition. So understanding the structural problem that is deeply embedded in unequal power relationships between men and women, and disproportionately affects women. This is a little bit about a definition about gender-based violence here. Somebody thinking that they have the right to abuse or superior or an upper hand just because of their gender. And that's where gender-based violence starts.
And how would you factor in gender inequality?
I factor in gender inequality, as I said just a few minutes ago, is that this is part of...
Oh, Zizipo, we're losing him.
It's not me. It's not network, I guess.
Yeah, it's a network. I don't know if you can even hear us now, but Coach Jonathan, we're losing you. Is it possible that you maybe go off and come back again? I don't even know how that would work on my end. Oh, no, we're losing him now. All right, we're losing him. Zizipo, thank you for joining us. Quick one. I mean, you just heard some of his, I think he'll be joining us again. Just heard some of his points and his concerns on gender-based violence, and he was about to, discuss how it comes into the play, talking about gender inequality. But then I was going to go to a part of the conversation, which I know you and I have been through before, which was him, talking about men being dominant. I think it's the essence of the other gender campaign. You understand? Do you think he's based in Vancouver in Canada? Do you think that, all right, he's back on. Let me see. So let me
Yeah.
not let the cat out of the bag yet. Let me hold on. Yeah, let him join us first. I'm really enjoying the conversation so far. So yeah, Mr. Jonathan, welcome.
Very sorry, very sorry. I mean, this network is doing its best for us not to have this conversation, but we're going to have it anyways. But you asked me the question as what is gender inequality? Gender inequality is the social process by which men and women are not treated equally.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Quick one. Zizipo, please, if you have any question, of course, you know how to come on. I just want to quickly ask, I mean, you've explained gender-based violence and gender inequality. The essence of our conversation, actually, we're discussing the economic implications of gender inequality, and the effect of balance in Africa. The other day, I saw on your wall when you had, when you had posted the ad for this particular show, you gave a statistics, of gender inequality and so on, and how it has affected an economy, both in North America, and I could also see from the conversation that's threaded that you were able to also bring it, to Africa as well. Do you really think that part of the economy, in Africa and in the world, but we're talking about Africa now, even part of the economy really suffers due to gender inequality? Do you think so?
Big time, my friend. I do think so. I definitely think so. I mean, we can have this conversation for 2 days and then not even touch, exhaust everything that is to say about the economic impact of gender inequality and all of that. I do think so, yes.
Okay. May you just give us, because we're going to go in depth in that conversation though, but maybe one or two, what do you call it now? One or two direct impacts, right, of gender imbalance in the society. One or two direct impacts. I mean, I don't understand. If I say there's gender inequality or there's gender imbalance, if I decide not to give Zizipo the job, I mean, Zizipo, here we are.
I think he's
I see him leave again. Indeed, a very serious topic. Yes, Ritabili. Yeah, it is. You're free to drop in your questions, and then we can have this conversation as we proceed. Zizipo, before he comes on, I'd like you to attempt that question. I mean, I want us to have this conversation. Do you really think that the economy in Africa, let's take South Africa for example, since that's where you're from, do you think the South African economy suffers, maybe at one point or the other suffers as a result of gender imbalance?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not really good with economics. I don't do anything that has economy, but general knowledge is that if we were to talk numbers, females are more than the males. We are more in numbers. So imagine if we were the priority or we were hired in the same level that males are hired. The economy will be better than this. There will be more people that are working, and also there will be less places like mines, mechanical engineering that prefer only males than males, and jobs like security. There wouldn't be that stigma that security jobs are done by males. So I think in terms of employment will be balanced. It won't be this imperfection that we're at right now. And also I believe that if we can come together and try to figure out solutions in the economic problem that we have, and not only involve the male counterparts, it should be like a 50-50 thing. Then we can come up with good solutions. We can come up with different things. We can be able to play around with different strategies.
All right, thank you. That's interesting. Mr. Jonathan, you heard her. I mean, I was actually just threw the question back at her, Let's hear what her opinion is as well. how would you actually said yes that you think that the economy suffers as a result of gender imbalance? Well, I'm going to be neutral on this in order to be fair. Now, how do you think the economy suffers as a result of gender imbalance? Because as a matter of fact, I mean, you said I'm saying I have 100 staff to give around, right? I'm not keeping 10 for myself, right? I'm saying I'm gonna give out 100 staff, but I am just going to give out 80 to men and 20 to women. I mean, I'm not keeping them for myself, right? But in the end, they're all still going to use it. So why do you say I should give 50 to men and 50 to women just because it will enhance the economy? I really want to understand what's the logic behind that.
Well, first of all, you need to know that our world is run by structures and systems. Can you hear me?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Our world is run by structures and systems, which is unfortunately over the past centuries, there is a historical background to that. Imperialism and all of that. How imperialism gets to run even today in the world is by power. The one that is more
Please.
so
All
I
right,
was
and we
saying
can hear you
it
now.
runs by power. The one that is more powerful gets to find a to oppress. And then when they found the group to oppress, okay, I found a quote one day that said, powerful people cannot afford to educate the people that they oppress. Because when you get truly educated, you don't ask for power. You just go and get it. And that is dangerous for the interest of the people who have built generation of wealth off of oppression. You talk about the transatlantic slave trade. You talk about slavery. You talk about colonialism and all of that. How that comes is justified by so many things. How religion was perverted. When I say religion, I'm talking about Christianity specifically. I'm a man of faith. I'm a Christian and understand how perverted in the past to actually bring us where we are right now. So how is the economy impacted? There was this research that you mentioned that I posted on my Instagram that in 2016, the global cost of violence against women was estimated by the UN to be 1.5 trillion US dollar, trillion with a T. It's not million, it's not billion, it's trillion with a T. Equivalent to approximately 2% of the global gross domestic product, the global GDP, or roughly the size of 2020's entire Canadian economy. So you're thinking about that, and you're thinking about how much the world really misses out due to gender-based violence only. First of all, we're going to talk about how gender-based gender inequality as well gets to impact the economy. So if women had the same lifetime earnings as men, global wealth would increase by about $23,000 per person. That was the research that was done with by the World Bank Group lately. And then they researched about 141 countries. And if you see that collectively, that's about 160 trillion dollars in the economy. So you think about that. You think about countries where women are not allowed to go get a job. Women are not allowed to own land. That means, as an entrepreneur, I'm looking from this level, that it's women are not allowed because the structure does not allow them to produce. The structure does not allow them to own. Structure does not allow them to distribute. Okay, maybe produce, own, and control some estate. You think about countries where women cannot even own land or women cannot inherit from their parents. You think about all of that, and you think about all the crises that the world is going through. One of the things that research proves is that crisis has always been the right thing to make us as a world realize that women are better leaders in times of crisis. And when I'm talking about crisis, I'm talking about World War II, for example. After World War II, if you read history, after World War II, women in the US were allowed now to have much more rights and to be empowered, and to be empowered to take leadership and to go in the workforce as well after World War II. Think about Rwanda as a country. Originally, I'm from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And then so my work has always been in the Great Lakes region for the past 7 years. And a country that comes into question mostly in sub-Saharan Africa is Rwanda. Rwanda has had a dark end of the 20th century. And what I mean by that, Rwanda went through a genocide against Tutsis in 1994 that saw about 1 million people dead. And then, so if you don't read the history, Rwanda has woke up in 1994 after the genocide against Tutsis. What happened is they realized that the country had about 60 to 70% of women. And then, so 60 to 70% women pre-genocide, what happened was women were not even known to be taking positions of leadership, of decision making, things like being, for example, a police chief, or owning land, or even inheriting from their parents, or even doing a major scale business. Women were not known to that. So now the crisis comes. The country wakes up and realizes that we have about 60 to 70% of our people are female. How are we going to go around that? So in 2003, they decided to pass a law that would make about 48% of parliamentaries of members of parliament should be women by quota. This is in 2003. That's a major leadership shift there. All of a sudden, women post genocide against Tutsis, what happened? Women were to be allowed now to be put in positions of decision making and leadership. They can be a chief of police, they can own land, they can inherit from their parents, but much more so, there is a quota that they need to meet to be in parliament. And what happens in that time when they're in parliament, they can literally be on tables where they can discuss policies and allow laws to go passing. I'm talking about economics here, but economics is just a big word that is sticking outside of as the tip of the iceberg, but that is influenced by a lot of things down here. And so that systemic change allowed women to be perceived, even start being perceived differently. I talked about a little bit how we got here. Women in Africa, if you read the history pre-colonialism and pre-European invasion and all of that, women were the pillars of the society. Women were queens. I think of Queen Ananziga. That was a queen in Angola who was a fierce military leader who stood the invasion of Portuguese in the 17th century and who resisted slave trade. I'm thinking about women like Ellen Johnson, the former Liberian president. I'm thinking of her because she has a background in economics and finances. She has been exiled multiple times, chased out of the country because of her integrity with finances. And then so when she ran as a president and she got elected in 2006, she literally got handed a broken country, a country that was on the brinks, just came out of civil war. So that crisis allowed just same thing as what happened in Rwanda, same thing, same principle we see in Liberia. When she got handed a broken country, what happened is she changed things, and by 2010, during her presidential mandate, Liberia got all its debt erased. And we're talking about women are better leaders in times of crisis here. Economics cannot get to where we want it to get unless we realize that the women, the female that have been, I don't know if it's imported culture or whatsoever in Africa, African women have always, back in history, been seen as the pillar of the society. And then I said as well, I'm going to talk about religion. And what's happened with religion is we need to be clear. The reason why I'm going to mention religion in this conversation is because most of the people probably following this, or most of the people on the African continent, are influenced by religion. And by that, I'm thinking about Christianity. I'm a Christian myself, and I did my own research and realized that yeah, Christianity influences a lot of people. But the Christianity that we got handed, that got used as a tool probably to oppress the African people pre-colonialism and, you know, after the Berlin Conference in 1884, 1885, that Christianity was used by people who had the worst intention for the African continent. They used that because they knew that Africans naturally are spiritual people. They believe in religion and spirits and all of that. They used Christianity presented in a perverted way to establish their power. And now all of the world, we get to blame Christianity, for example, as a reason why we oppress women. But if you actually go into Bible-believing Christianity, you get to realize that women in the Bible are literally placed not as in, they're not pictured as dependent, which is what we mainstream media want us to believe, that yeah, Christianity is a reason why we are where we are when it comes to gender inequality. So we believe that women are pictured as dependent. They're not pictured as dependent in the Bible. They're not even pictured as independent. They're pictured, both women and men are pictured as interdependent. And what that means is I come as a male, and let's say I get to marry a woman, I get to realize that we can literally complete each other and not compete. And that is the part that doesn't sell. When you present that as the right picture of how male and female dynamic works, that doesn't sell at all. That's not because the media and the people, because this gender inequality is a whole industry, it's a whole business. Just if you don't know, it's a whole business that wants to pervert the right image, the right perception of what a woman is. But unfortunately, we have bought into that. And then we have, at some point as well, been in a position where, as a male, I can just look back, as I was doing my research, I can just look back at instances where, honestly, I probably abused of my male privilege. But I'm going to stop this here and continue on this religion thing later, because this is very paramount when we're thinking about economics. Because economics is not just about numbers. Economics is about how people perceive themselves and how people perceive what they can bring on the table, how they can contribute, contribute in the economy to build that on a micro as well as on macro level. I don't know. Sorry, I took way too long to get into this. You can see how this is really something I'm passionate about.
Thank you. Is this it, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have
No,
anything?
you can continue. I'm listening.
No, that's interesting. Thank you so much, Coach Jenison. That's actually an insight and actually indeed in depth. Yeah, like you said, we're going to go back to it again, and start breaking it. But from the things that you have actually said lately, they begin to resonate. You actually made a very valid point there, where I think a lot of us need to go back to school again and learn some of these things from the Bible and understand that, women were not independent, neither were they pictured as independent. The gender issue in the Bible actually depict an interdependency, from both gender, and that's interesting. That's interesting. Commendable. Now, from what you said, I can also pick that you have rightly said, without mincing words, that gender inequality does bring a lot of damage to the economy, right? And from the examples you gave, I mean, from the former Liberian president and all, and also the history of Rwanda and so on, you actually have been able to point out that women are better leaders, particularly in times of crisis. And what better time do we have actually have to get good leaders other than when we're in crisis? I mean, when everything is going well and smooth, I mean, anybody can be a leader. But a true leader is actually being distinguished and being factored out in a time of crisis, times of making right and tough decisions. And that's what you've just given. You've just given the trophy to the women right now, that they take the trophy in times of crisis. That's good. Now, gender imbalance. So are you going to say, do you think that the governments of Africa, because we focus on that, actually are more proactive rather than reactive in the issue of gender inequality and gender imbalance? I mean, we're doing a lot in Africa. I mean, I wouldn't say we're doing a lot, to actually curb this issue of gender-based violence and gender inequality and what have you. But do you think the government is doing enough, or are they actually coming through after the damage is done? What do you think? I mean, briefly, what do you think?
First of all, yeah, huge of my work is actually working in Africa, working with decision makers and leaders. It is saying that Africa is doing enough or not enough. I'm not in a position to dictate that or to perceive that. But one thing that is significantly happening in Africa is you get to, first of all, let me start from here. We get to judge or measure Africa with the rest of the world, the progress that we have with the rest of the world, not realizing that countries like the US are about 200 years old plus. From the independence to now, they're about 200 years old. And if you go study history, the kind of things they went through, the slavery and all of that, and all those things they went through, and the systemic racism that is, again, anti-Black racism that is still part of North American culture is crazy. African countries are at best about 60 years old. Okay. I'll let that sink in. South Africa is less than 30 years old from the apartheid. And then you get to put that, we're talking in terms of numbers here. Africa is probably developing faster than any other country. First of all, Africa is not a country. And then so individual countries in Africa, sovereign as they're developing in their pace. And probably things I'm going to say here will be things that will put my life in danger.
No, they won't.
And then, well, I've been there before. It's a conversation for another day. But Africans are doing their best where they are. But while as well, Africans realize that now we're not just competing with my brother, my sister next door. We're competing with the world. And most of countries who are about 100 years old, 200 years old, now with the African free trade agreement as well, Africa is opening to other African countries, and you have China in Africa as well. You have Russia in Africa. You have the United States in Africa. You have the European Union in Africa, literally dictating things. There was an interview that's one of the major directors, one of the major CEOs in the Democratic Republic of the Congo is giving. The guy is the head of the Federation of I think Congolese companies and businesses. He was saying how, for example, things like the World Economic Forum, or the International Monetary Fund, or the World Bank, how they get to dictate things from above and say, you guys better give this contract to this company because we have given you about this $1 billion in loan. And so therefore, we have the say in how you get to run your local economy. You get to run the thing. You get to make decisions. We have this agenda you have to abide by. So now, African leaders find themselves torn between should preserve national integrity, and for those who wanted their people to get developed, some of them got killed. Because when you get to preserve and when you get to put your people first, at some point you're going to realize that I need to turn my back against the imperial power. Imperialism, there's a document out there, make your own research. It's called the Charter of Imperialism. This document literally gets to talk about how these superpowers, who are about 200 years old, thought beforehand and say, in the next couple of centuries, we will literally get to exploit these countries. We will get to exploit, for example, Africa and all other countries so that we can survive as Western economies, as Western countries. And so what happens, there are literally different articles on how they're going to do that. And one of the articles as well is we will not ever allow any African country or any third world country to have total sovereignty on how they run their affairs. So now, you're asking me whether African countries are doing better or they're doing enough to advance gender equality. Well, I'll ask you, what do you mean by better? What do you mean by doing enough? Because here you have people who are true leaders and say, I will put my people first, prioritize the best for my people. And then these people get sold out. It has been happening ever since the independence. Just look at your countries and realize, hey, what happened to Thomas Sankara? What happened to Patrice Emery Lumumba? What happened to Prince Louis Rwagasore? What happened to all these people that you can talk about? But now the thing is, mainstream media wants you to believe that those African leaders who put the interest of their people first are evil. And unfortunately, we buy into that because they have the power, the resources, the capital, and the infrastructure to make you download every belief that they have. Same thing is happening overall in all countries. And the nail that stands out as being resisting that imperial power that wants to dictate things at home get hammered down, get martyred, get assassinated. So, are they doing anything proactive? I'm sure they are. Because just like many of us, these people have sisters, they have daughters, and to whom they would want the best for them. But it comes at a point where they're just being used as puppets to execute the orders of the most powerful, of the imperial power that is there. I can't believe up to today, for example, that there are some African countries that still pay taxes to France. These are the things that I've been telling you that will put my life in danger here.
No, yeah, you're not in danger. I actually, just a few days ago, I was doing research on this very topic, and I actually really wanted to tackle a topic like that. I wanted to start a conversation, to just talk about this. But most of The main part of the conversation, which of course, like you said, is a threat right now. I think now I'm in danger because it's actually to expose some of this nonsense happening in Africa. I actually did a research and I realized that up to date, there are some countries who still give percentage of their income to to their former colonial masters. You know, up till date, this is not what happened 10, 15 years ago, up till now. And I'm asking, what are you talking about? And technically, I mean, from what I see, it's like they're repaying back a loan that the money spent on the country. So it's like, oh, they came to colonize us. Now they're letting us go to be free, but we have to pay them for the money that they have spent on us. All this while they've been here. Like, what? You know, and I'm like, this is serious. So when I was working on the research, I'm thinking, well, I'm just gonna take this, so slow and see what we can do. And you just pointed this out right now. It is not just backward, it's also barbaric. And it is to say that from all that you have taken from the country, you still are asking them to give you. And I can bet you that if we go deeper from that research, some of the natural resources of that country still goes to this other country. So now they're taking from the natural resources, from the goods, the whatever, and they're still taking from the GDP or what have you. That's so wrong. I mean, you actually are exposing a lot of things which is actually the essence of this conversation. Now the point is, where do we go from here? How do we empower these women? How do we empower these men? How do we empower ourselves so that we can not maybe fight or resist these people, but we can grow up to a point where we earn our respect? Because nobody wants to hear about resistance. Nobody wants to talk about fighting. You understand? So it's fine. Let's put it that way. How do we grow as a people, both male and female, individually and collectively? How do we grow as a people to a point? What do we do? How do we empower these men? How do we empower these women? What do we do? At what point do we come together? What do you think we can do? Yeah.
Jonathan, before you answer that, there's something that I picked up in this conversation that we are having, and this information that you have given us, a very sensitive one too. What I was thinking while you're speaking, I'm getting the fact that we are aware of those things. It's things that we know. It's things that we know that, okay, Africa is rich when it comes to minerals, when it comes to oil, when it comes to things that can actually elevate us. But the problem is we kind of have to take them somewhere so that we can get the final product. And sometimes we have to take the loans to do smaller things like getting people vaccinated. And we're taking those loans that we cannot even pay. It's conversations that we know. It's conversations that are really uncomfortable. Nobody wants to talk about that because we know the truth that we're actually being sold, but nobody's comfortable in talking about that. Then how do we create conversations around that? How do we raise consciousness into people that we are actually in this shit and we don't know how we're gonna get ourselves out?
Very great question. Number one of the tools that was used over generation to destroy the African people is finding a way to destroy the Black family, the African family. This is similar in North America, where policies and some powers and some decisions and relevant to the Black woman. In the essence, where there are programs like they say, hey, you can get a government support in some ways if you're a single mother, but the condition for you to access that, you should not have a male in the house, a husband in the house. And also this creates a vague and a wave of people being raised by single mothers. I respect single mothers working multiple jobs, single mothers playing the role of husband, of dad and mommy to raise their kids. So if you don't understand where this all, we're not ready to start discussing solution unless we understand how deep the problem goes. Just because you understand there is a problem doesn't mean you know how bad the problem is. So this is one. Two, the key to start fixing all of this is realizing, as a male, I'm taking my responsibility. I'm not speaking for every male here. I'm speaking for myself and those who will find value in this conversation. As a male, now is the time to realize that some narrative that we receive that men are superior to women or women are inferior was a narrative used to create imperialism in your mind. When you're being an exploiter, you're not maximizing on what you can do together. You literally, I don't, you guys.
Yeah, we're losing you. Yeah, your network is wavy and it's.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can see the lag coming out around.
Can you guys?
Yeah, we're losing you. Yeah, I just heard what you said. Now, can you repeat that again? Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, that came a little late, so I don't know. I think, yeah.
Okay, so I was saying.
Can you hear me now?
I was saying. Yeah.
That's about
So
7
I
seconds.
was literally.
That came a little.
I was literally.
Okay. Can you? Is it possible that you log?
You can hear me, right?
Is it possible that we're struggling to hear you? I mean, it's not possible. Is it possible for you to maybe log out and in again? Oh yeah, thank you. Sister Paul, are you learning?
Hmm?
Are you learning?
I can't hear you. What is happening?
Are you learning?
Yeah, I am.
Mm. He says we can't start discussing the solutions right now until we know how deep the problem is. Sister Paul, the problem is deep.
Too deep, and I feel like we've went too far to actually go back and undo whatever that was done.
Where do we go from here?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Okay, here's back.
Coach Jonathan.
Okay, I'm back.
Thank you. Sorry, we had lost you for a while.
Yes, I know. So
yeah.
what I was saying was understanding the narrative that we have bought into about women. Where you're given a certain privilege, it can be male privilege, it can be whatever, to oppress the people, to oppress any group of people. At the end of the day, bottom line, you're actually losing. Because, hey, one of my favorite scripture in the Bible is one person can chase 1,000, but two people can chase 10,000. It's not two people where one person is an abuser and one person is abused, one person is an oppressor and the other person is oppressed. It's when two people partner, when two people become interdependent. But we have bought into the religious belief that women are inherently inferior. And then so once we start going back to seeing, unlearning some of the things that we learn, both male and female. But unfortunately, right now, there are people who benefit directly from this oppressive structure, that system that's at place. The oppressive structure that's at place.
I mean, this conversation is going really deep. We will need to have it again another day.
People who actually
we already have a time. Oh, I'm losing him. I can't hear him. Z, can you hear him?
No.
I think we really need to reschedule him again. And we have guests for the next few weeks. I'm just going to check the calendar and see the day where we're free. Quickly slot him in. He really has a lot to share with us. And that, I mean, really a lot to share with us. And I think there is need for us to, have this conversation again and again. Yeah. And we're also planning for our global conference. You may have seen it. Come on, see, you should have seen our global conference. I mean, you and I need to talk actually on how we can work together on that global conference. It is very important. Now I can't even hear Coach Jonathan say anything. I don't know if he can even hear us. That's the irony. Let's see.
I don't think so.
I doubt if he can hear us. What do I do? Oh yeah, he just left. Okay. So yeah, it's 5 minutes to the end of the show, actually. We will need to have him again. It is very important. He has a lot to share. And I actually thought, let him come again, and then we'll just wrap it up. I'd like to have him, and I also want him on the global conference planning. A lot of I've actually gone through some of the things he does, and I believe that is a lot. He's coming back again in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coach Jonathan, good. We're so sorry.
I'm very sorry about it. I'm telling you, I start believing that this thing is done intentionally by some network provider. Yeah. Over the past year, we've been seeing some information being censored because they were telling the truth that was unmasking the system that benefits from the broken system that we have right now. So anyways, anything is possible. So real quick, I was saying, as a coach, I understand that the power dynamic in a relationship gets to determine the outcome of that relationship. In a relationship where it is a tyrant and a slave, there is no much to gain from that, or an oppressor and an oppressed, or a superior gender and an inferior gender. These are a couple of narratives that we bought into. But in relationships where two people are seen to be complementing each other, not competing with each other, and saying, hey, you're good with numbers, I'm good with people. Businesses and companies are built around that, and economies are built around that. You're good with numbers, you take care of the books, I will find all the businesses that will actually grow our revenue. Relationships that understand that, whether it's a personal relationship, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, founder, co-founder, when you understand that, you know that you can multiply the outcomes. So there's an example, for example, in some countries, women or young girls are literally kept out of school, right? So like there's a research by a guy called David Bosch that said that women are good in managing money. So that's why, for example,
No. Whenever you want to say something important, they block your network. I don't know why they have to. I'm sure because you're revealing the truth. And it's just a minute away. We'll need to have this conversation again. Because when he comes back, we're just going to wrap it up and have this conversation again. I'm just going to check. I know for the next 2 weeks, we're already booked. I'm just going to reconfirm with our guests to see if either of them is available or not. And then we can bring him on or after the global conference. It's going to be really interesting. So yes, guys, as we round up, our global conference is coming up on the 20th and 21st of August. The global conference seeks to bring together various sectors from across Africa and around the world as well, together to come have this conversation. And the essence of this conference is to get companies and sectors to collaborate together. in order to improve Africa. We want to see how we can get African investment for Africa. You understand? And of course, we're talking about gender equality. We want to see how we can build equality around sectors. We're reaching out to a lot of people, getting collaborators as well. So if you'd love to collaborate with us, just hit us up. We'd love to partner with us, hit us up. We actually really want to see how we can get a larger percentage of youth representation, both as speakers and as investors, clients, and prospects as well. And also more of women as well. We're trying to see how we can build this equality around the system. Just for us as a final note, we're going to bring Coach Jonathan on again in about 5 seconds. So you can do the countdown, and yeah, just brief him, and we'll see how we can get him on board for the global conference. Yes, 5 seconds complete. So, Coach Jonathan, thank you very much for your time. I mean, this network is really lagging. What we have agreed, we are going to have you again. We're going to have you again, and please, you'd have to look at your schedule for us. Look at your schedule and let us know. We are going to see. I know for the next 2 weeks, I'm very sure for the next 2 weeks that we already have guests. However, I will have to reconfirm with those guests again. You understand, and just see what happens. But notwithstanding, going forward, from what you're saying, there's a lot that the people need to learn and hear from this. And I'm very sure that even after this conversation, when people revisit this IG live, of course, both on our feeds and on our YouTube channel, there will be need for them to want to call you back and say, you know what, we really need to talk to Coach Jonathan. And that's the fact. We really need to do this. We need to have this conversation again. But quickly, just to add to this as well, you may have seen a post or two about our global conference that is coming up. I don't remember I mentioned it up to you. It's a global conference, our second annual global conference. And I think that the more good heads we have, the better for us. So would love to have you on board at the global conference, but more of this we'll actually have to discuss offline, of course, and then see how we can partner together, pull resources from human capitals, work with your network, get our networks, put them together. The essence of this campaign, of this conference, is similar to what we're just talking about. The essence of this conference is to get sectors to collaborate, within Africa, and, pull investment, pull resources, and get investment from Africa to Africa and from around the world to Africa. It's sectors collaboration. The theme for the conference is optimal. We want to transform Africa through effective sectors collaboration. Sector A, B, and C collaborating. Let's work on this for Africa. A, B, and C, let's do this for Africa. You know what I'm saying? We want to encourage those collaborations because, as a matter of fact, in the era that we are right now in Africa, no one sector can thrive alone. It is not possible. It is not possible. No one sector can thrive alone. I mean, we can see a lot have been failing, and with this COVID and whatever having and all this propaganda going on, we need real collaboration, and that is what One African Forum is bringing on the table. We're bringing on that platform for everyone to come and collaborate. 1, 2, 3, 4, collaborate. You know what I'm saying? Let's see, and also provide more opportunities for youth and women in the society. They need to tap into this, and there's a lot. So, Coach Jonathan, you and I will be in touch, of course. We'll get to talk more and see how we can work on this together. But I know how much can I say thank you for your time today. You've been such an amazing guest, and you have actually, you're a coach because you've been lecturing us. I mean, here it is. We have really learned so much from it. I mean, look, Zizi Po. I've never seen Zizi Po this serious, on the live.
I appreciate that you guys brought me along here, and I apologize that my infrastructure did not allow me to fully be here and literally get to share all of that. But just as a wrap up on that, we did not even get to scratch and the surface to go and understand the problem. But one of the things that I want to leave you with, we cannot ignore this anymore, that as I was talking about religion and all the narrative we got from religion being brought to us in a perverted way, this needs to be corrected in some sense. And the only way to correct that is to make your own research. If they base themselves on the Bible to teach that, go and find out by yourself, instead of just, because we're very good as human beings at throwing blame game. But I want to conclude with the most accurate pictures of what the Bible gets to say about what a virtuous woman is. A woman. So I'll just read it real quick. You hear people probably say about Proverbs, Proverbs 31, the Proverbs 31 kind of a woman. I'll just read it and flesh it out for you a little bit here on what it says. Just allow me about 1 minute as I get to pull that for you, because that's
we're losing you. I couldn't hear you. We couldn't hear your last few seconds. Yeah, please, could you please just go back 10 seconds?
I was saying religion influences people from every sectors of society right now. It's deeply ingrained in the African belief. And as much as people, we can be talking about this conversation off church, this conversation outside, but probably people following this conversation from Africa belong to a church and they believe probably the wrong narrative. So just for everyone who at some point have said they've been disappointed by how religion has pictured a woman as inferior to the man, I want to debunk that. And or for everyone who has probably taken religion as being the root cause of where gender inequality is, I want to debunk that by reading Proverbs 31. It says, "A good woman is hard to find and worth far more than diamonds. Her husband trusts her without reserve and never has a reason to regret it. Never spiteful, she treats him generously all her life long. She shops around for the best yarns and cottons and enjoy knitting and sewing." That's a business person here. A woman is supposed to also be a producer. That's the right picture of the virtuous woman. So she's up before dawn preparing breakfast for her family or organizing her day. So that means that she's probably the hardest working person in the room because she wakes up before everybody and takes initiative. She looks over a field and buys it. She looks over a field and buys it. Then with the money she puts aside, plants a garden. Not only she's entrepreneurial, not only she's an investor, but she also gets to expand in other sectors. She buys a land, sells it, plants a garden. So that means somebody who is really truly believes her worth, and then she can do those things by herself without feeling the need to compete with her husband. And first thing in the morning, she dresses for work, rolls up her sleeves, eager to get started. She senses the worth of her work, is in no hurry to call it quits for the day. She's skilled in the crafts of home and hearth, diligent in homemaking. She's quick to assist anyone in need, reaches out to help the poor. She doesn't worry about her family when it snows. Their winter clothes are all mended. So if I break this down as a coach, that here she's not only a business person, she's good with her finances, she invests, she plans ahead for bad days and all of that. And all of that gets to picture literally, this is the ideal picture of a woman. But unfortunately, the mainstream society wants us to put a woman as an independent person. There's nothing bad about being independent. But being independent is a good thing, but you will not exhaust all the potential that you have. But when you become interdependent, you understand your worth, what you're bringing to the table, and whether you believe in getting married or not, you partner with another person from another gender, a male more likely. You get to realize that both of you end up building an empire rather than just building a house or a home. So we can get into these conversations later, and I would love to be part of the global conference that you guys are organizing. And you can literally reach out to me anytime. I love the work that you guys are doing at One Africa Forum. I want to be part of what's being done on the continent, bringing perspectives from my experience in Africa and in North America. I'd love to. How can I help? How can I help? This is probably my last question here.
All right, there's a lot of ways you can help. As a matter of fact, we'd love you to come on board through on a Noble Club campaign. Our Noble Club campaign is a continental community-based project that we're running, getting the aid of psychologists and social workers, dispatching them to schools, to go help with social and psychological issues, coaching, and mentorship and what have you. I know across the continent and schools, that's very important. We will also love you to help us. Of course, we know you have a very wide network. Of course, help us pull strings. Most of the work we do require a lot of funding. And as I speak with you right now, we are self-funded. Right now, we do not have a sponsor or a funder right now. It's just been just me, my partner, running all this, and so. But then we are trying and saying how much and how best we can do. So yes, on that end, we also need to come on board. And as an issue of resources as well. From the resources that you have, we'd love to pull resources together. Look into projects across the continent and see how we can bring about change. We need ideas. Of course, we need ideas, we need contributions, we need, there's a lot that we can do together. And so how we can help, those are the basic I can mention right now online. And then, offline, we can discuss much more, so much more of them. I don't know if you heard my last sentences.
I think it's outdated.
I think so too.
Is there a website?
Okay. All right, guys. I mean, it's been an interesting one. I will actually get in touch with Coach Jonathan to, answer some of his questions and see how we get him on board and see what we do. But more importantly, we're going to have a part 2 of this conversation. So it's still going to be on the same topic, but it's going to be a part 2 of this conversation. So I want to say thank you very much. And thank you so much to everyone who has actually taken time to join us on this conversation. It's been such an interesting one. We have learned so much and we really can't count them. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us and for, for everything. We really want to appreciate you. Coach Jonathan has been an awesome person. Please, we meet here every Monday, 8 p.m., to have such conversations. 8 p.m. Central African time. I think it's about 11 a.m. in East African time and so on. So that's what time we meet. So we'd like everyone to please join us, come on board every time. Just follow us, One African Forum, and get to know the things that we do. Follow us on our updates, on our global conference, on our various projects, and when we're visiting and what have you. Sometimes we're doing fundraisers. It could be for you, and for any other person. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Coach Jonathan. Yes, it's such a nice time having you. Zizipo, what are your last words?
Well, we're out of time.
We're out of time, right?
Yeah, but one thing I can say is that we are Africans. Well rooted and nurtured in the African soil. If we don't take care of this Africa, then we've got nowhere to go. Africa is us, it is within us. So with conversations like this, they help us to understand and also to foresee our future as Africans. So let's not shy away from conversations like this. Yes, they might be confronting, they might be uncomfortable, but they're with it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you. We'll stay in touch. Please, we'll see you again every Monday, 8 p.m. Central African time, 11 p.m. East African time, and that's 7 p.m. West African time. Sorry, Eastern time, 11 a.m. West African time, that's 7 p.m. And I think in North Africa, that's 9 p.m. So, guys, we'll see you all. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. God bless you. I'm signing out now. Bye-bye.